My name is Bernadette. I'm 32 years old, project manager at a mid-sized construction firm in Denver. I'm not flashy, but I'm organized, financially stable, and I plan things months in advance. That matters for context. My boyfriend Aiden is 29. He works in PR and thrives on intensity. We've been together a little over 2 years. No shared assets, no lease together. We each keep our own apartments. Back in January, I booked a 2-week Maldives trip for July. Overwater villa, flights, non-refundable excursions. It wasn't impulsive. I saved for it. It was meant to be our big step trip before we seriously discussed moving in together. Aiden was ecstatic when I told him, posted about it immediately, sent screenshots to his friends, called it his dream vacation. Then 3 weeks ago, something shifted. He started bringing up his ex-girlfriend Marissa. Not often at first, just in passing. Apparently, she had reached out to apologize for how things ended. They dated for 3 years before me. It ended messy, at least that's what he told me when we started dating. One night we were on my couch looking at snorkeling options when he said it casually. Marissa asked if we could meet up before I go to the Maldives for closure. Closure. I asked what that meant. He said he just needed to see her one more time. Clear the air. Make sure he felt nothing before taking a big romantic trip with me. That phrasing stuck. I asked why he wasn't sure he felt nothing already. He got defensive immediately. Said I was being insecure. Said mature adults handle unresolved feelings directly. The following week, he brought it up again. More serious tone. I think I owe it to myself to get closure first. There it was. I told him calmly that if he felt unfinished, business was a prerequisite to traveling with me. That told me more than he realized. He rolled his eyes and said I was overreacting, that this was about his emotional growth. 2 days later, he made it clear. I'm seeing her next Friday. I need to do this. If you can't understand that, maybe you're not as secure as you think. That was the moment everything became simple. I looked at him and said, okay, then I'll go by myself. He laughed like I had just made a petty joke. I wasn't joking, and that's where the plan quietly changed. Aiden has this habit of testing boundaries and then recalibrating based on how much resistance he gets. It's subtle, but I've noticed it over time. If I push back hard, he reframes. If I stay calm, he escalates. After I said I'd go alone, he smirked and said, don't be dramatic. You're not going to the Maldives solo like some divorced mom finding herself. I didn't argue. I just opened my laptop and logged into the airline portal. 2 separate tickets booked under my account, paid entirely by me. Same for the resort. Aiden had Venmo'd me for a small portion of excursions, but the main reservations were under my name. I looked up the cancellation policy for his ticket. Refundable as credit, transferable with a fee. Interesting. That Friday, the day he was supposed to meet Marissa, he dressed like he was going to an audition. New outfit, hairstyled, cologne I hadn't smelled in months. He stood in my doorway adjusting his sleeve and said, don't wait up. Closure conversations take time. I asked one question. If this is truly closure, why does it look like a first date? He snapped and said I was insecure again. Then he left. I didn't text him all night. I didn't chase. I didn't ask where they went. I didn't play detective. I just let the quiet show me what it was going to show me. Around 11:40 p.m., he posted a story. Low lighting, 2 wine glasses, no face shown, but it didn't need one. It was staged just enough to be ambiguous and clear at the same time. That was enough data. Saturday morning, I canceled his flight. No argument, no announcement, just clicked cancel and accepted the airline credit under my name. Then I contacted the resort and modified the reservation to single occupancy. Lost a small portion of the prepayment. Worth it. By Sunday afternoon, I booked a scuba diving add-on for myself. I also added a private sunset excursion because I realized something. If I was going to be alone, I was going to be fully alone, not half alone with someone's uncertainty buzzing in the background. When Aiden finally came over that evening, he had that smug energy, like he had done something mature and expected praise. He sat on my couch like he belonged there and said, we should talk. I kept my tone neutral. How did closure go? He exhaled like he'd been through something profound. It was emotional. I realized I still have unresolved feelings. I didn't blink. But that doesn't mean I want her, he added quickly, like he expected that sentence to fix everything. It just means I needed clarity before committing further with us. That wording again. Before committing further. I nodded once. That's fair. He looked relieved, like he had passed some invisible test. Then I told him calmly, I canceled your ticket yesterday. I leave in 12 days. His face actually went blank. You're joking. No, I said. You said you needed closure. I'm not competing with that, so I'll go by myself. He stared at me like I had broken an unspoken rule. You can't just uninvite me. Actually, I can, I replied evenly. I paid for it. The shift in his expression was immediate, because for the first time he realized this wasn't a test. It was a decision. The silence stretched for a solid 10 seconds. Aiden blinked twice, like he was waiting for me to grin and say I was kidding. Then his voice sharpened. So you're seriously going to punish me because I needed closure? I kept my tone flat. I'm not punishing you. I'm adjusting to new information. He scoffed. New information. Yes, I said, that you're not fully present with me. That irritated him. I told you it wasn't like that. You're twisting this. I didn't argue semantics. I stuck to facts. You went on what looked like a date with your ex-girlfriend 12 days before we were supposed to take a romantic trip. You said you have unresolved feelings. That tells me this isn't the right timing for a couple's vacation. He stood and paced my living room, dragging his hands through his hair like he was trying to pull out a better outcome. You're being dramatic. It was one conversation. I glanced at my phone. It lasted 6 hours. He didn't like that I noticed. He switched tactics. So what now? You're just going to sip cocktails alone and pretend everything's fine? Yes. That answer hit harder than any yelling would have. He folded his arms. You'll regret it. People don't go to the Maldives alone. Maybe, I said, but I'd regret funding a trip with someone who isn't sure about me more. That's when he said the thing that split the last thread of doubt. Marissa and I talked about maybe trying again, he muttered, like he was testing how much that would make me fight. Just to see. There it was. Not closure. Exploration. I nodded slowly. Then you should explore that fully without me waiting in the background. He looked almost offended that I wasn't reacting the way he wanted. You're not even going to try to convince me. No. And that's when his tone shifted from defensive to irritated. You're acting like you don't care. I do care, I said evenly. That's why I won't compete. He hated that answer. For the next few days, he alternated between cold silence and subtle guilt attempts. Sent me old photos. Mentioned how excited his friends were about the trip. Asked if I could at least transfer his ticket credit to him. I didn't, because technically it was airline credit under my account, and because I wasn't going to pay for my own replacement. 5 days before departure, he sent one more message. Are you really going alone? Yes. And that's when he said something that told me everything. Fine, then I'll just see where things go with Marissa. I didn't respond. I finished packing instead. Because sometimes the only way to see if someone values you is to remove yourself from the equation. And I was about to be 8,000 miles away. The airport felt different this time. Usually when you're traveling as a couple, there's this shared anticipation. The airport coffee, the photos, the small arguments about who forgot what. This time it was just me, a carry-on, and silence. Aiden texted the morning of my flight. I can't believe you're actually doing this, I replied once. You said you needed closure. I'm giving you space for it. No emoji, no sarcasm, just that. He didn't answer. The flight was long but calm. No tension, no checking someone else's mood, no wondering if I'd said the wrong thing. Just movies, a book, and sleep. When I landed in Mail and took the speedboat to the resort, I felt something unexpected. Relief, not revenge. Not freedom. Relief. The overwater villa was exactly as advertised. Clear water, white sand, no drama. That first evening, I ordered dinner for one and sat on the deck watching the sunset. I half expected to feel lonely. I didn't. Instead, I kept replaying his exact phrasing. I need to make sure I feel nothing before taking a big romantic trip with you. That sentence is not neutral. It implies comparison. Day 2, I went diving. Met a couple from Australia who assumed I was recently single. I didn't correct them. It was simpler that way. They told me about their honeymoon and asked who I was there with. Myself, I said. They smiled like that made sense. On day 3, Aiden posted a story. Dinner again, same dim lighting. This time, Marissa's hand clearly visible across the table. He knew I'd see it. I didn't react publicly. Instead, I booked a private sunset excursion for myself. Later that night, he finally texted, Marissa thinks it's weird you're over there alone. That almost made me laugh. I replied, Marissa doesn't get a vote in my travel plans. He called me immediately. I didn't pick up. He left a voicemail. I didn't think you'd just walk away like this. I hadn't walked away. I had stepped forward. By day 5, his tone shifted. We're still us, right? That message arrived hours after he posted a beach photo from somewhere local with her. I answered the next morning. I'm not competing with your closure. That was the last message I sent from the Maldives. Because at that point, something had already become clear. If he was testing which direction felt better, I wasn't participating in the trial. The funny thing about space is it reveals who fills it and who just assumed they always would. By day 6, the pattern was obvious. He would post something with her, then message me hours later looking for reassurance. It was like he wanted both lanes open. Test the old spark while keeping me emotionally parked. That's when I stopped responding completely. I muted his notifications first, gave it 24 hours. 7 messages. Are you ignoring me? This is childish. We need to talk about where we stand. Marissa thinks you're being manipulative. Why are you acting like I cheated? You're overreacting. Bernadette, answer me. That last one hit differently. Not because of the content, but because of the tone shift. He was used to me engaging, explaining, defending. I didn't. That night, sitting on the deck with the ocean completely still around me, I opened my phone and did something simple. I blocked him. Calls, texts, Instagram, everything. Not dramatically, not in anger, just cleanly. If he needed closure, he now had uninterrupted space for it. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No buzzing, no checking whether he'd posted something pointed, no analyzing subtext, just the sound of water. Later that afternoon, a mutual friend messaged me. Aiden's freaking out, says you blocked him. Is that true? Yes, I replied. Apparently, he had told people I was on some self-discovery trip and that we were just taking space. He hadn't expected the space to be literal. By evening, another friend reached out. He and Marissa had argued. Apparently, she wasn't thrilled about being framed as a temporary experiment while he waited for me to calm down. That made sense. No one likes being a rebound disguised as closure. I didn't ask for details, I didn't unblock him. Because here's what changed the moment I canceled his ticket. I stopped trying to win. If he needed to evaluate his feelings, he could do it without my commentary. If he realized he made a mistake, that realization wouldn't need my presence either. On day 8, I booked a couple spa package. For one, it cost extra. Worth it. And somewhere between the massage and the sunset, it clicked. If someone needs to compare you to move forward, you're already being measured. And I don't compete for a relationship I'm already in. By the time my flight home approached, I wasn't wondering what Aiden would say. I was wondering whether I'd even want to hear it. And the answer was becoming very clear. I landed back in Denver to exactly what I expected. Chaos. Not loud chaos. Social chaos. The moment I turned my phone off airplane mode, notifications flooded in. Not from Aiden, from mutual friends. Are you guys broken up? She says you ghosted her in another country. What happened? Interesting phrasing. Ghosted her. I hadn't ghosted anyone. I had blocked someone who was actively auditioning her ex-girlfriend while keeping me on standby. I didn't respond immediately. I grabbed my luggage, got in my car, and drove home. My apartment felt smaller than when I left, but cleaner. Still mine, still quiet. That evening, my best friend Connor came over with takeout. He'd seen enough of Aiden's post to piece things together. So let me get this straight, he said. He went on dates with his ex while you were in the Maldives and thought you'd just wait. Pretty much. Connor shook his head. You finally stopped playing backup. Backup. That word landed hard. That's exactly what it had been. He wanted the stability of me while testing chemistry with her. He wanted reassurance from me while reopening something old with her. Around 9 that night, Connor showed me something on his phone. Aiden had posted a long story rant about emotional immaturity and people who weaponize silence. No names, but obvious context. Then came the part that sealed it. Marissa had commented publicly, "Some people don't deserve closure." That told me more than anything else. If Marissa felt sidelined, that meant Aiden hadn't committed there either. He had been playing both sides. By midnight, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. It was his work email. You blocked me everywhere. That's insane. We need to talk like adults. I read it once. Then I blocked that too. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. The next morning, another friend called. Apparently, Aiden and Marissa had argued 2 days earlier. She didn't appreciate being treated like an emotional experiment while he waited to see if I'd calm down. He had told her I was overreacting. She told him he was hedging. Hedging. That word stuck. He wasn't seeking closure. He was minimizing risk, keeping the stable option open while testing the old spark. That strategy only works if the stable option plays along. I didn't. 3 days after I got back, there was a knock at my door. Not dramatic pounding, not screaming. Just one steady knock. I opened it halfway. Aiden stood there looking different, less polished. Hoodie, tired eyes, no smirk. "So this is it," he said. "You just disappear on me." "I didn't disappear," I replied evenly. "You went looking for closure." He rolled his eyes. "You know that's not what I meant." "Actually, I don't." He stepped forward like he expected to be invited in. I didn't move. Marissa and I aren't talking anymore, he said quickly. That wasn't surprising. She said I was using her, he added, that I wasn't serious. I nodded once. Were you? That irritated him. You're twisting this. No, I said, I'm asking. He exhaled sharply. I just needed to be sure. Sure of what? That I was choosing the right person. That sentence landed exactly how it should have. Choosing. You don't test drive your ex to evaluate your current relationship, I said calmly. He snapped back. People need closure. No, I replied. People need commitment. Silence. For the first time since this started, he didn't have a quick comeback. He shifted tactics. You embarrassed me. You went to the Maldives alone like I didn't matter. You told me you needed to make sure you felt nothing before taking a romantic trip with me, I answered. I gave you space. You blocked me. Yes. Why? Because I don't compete. He stared at me like he was recalculating something. I didn't think you'd actually walk away. There it was again. The miscalculation. I didn't walk away, I said. I stepped aside. He swallowed. Are we done? I didn't hesitate. Yes. He laughed once, sharp and defensive, over one conversation. No, I said quietly. Over the fact that you weren't sure about me while I was sure about you. That wasn't fixable by another dinner. He looked like he wanted to argue, then like he wanted to cry, then like he wanted to rewind the last 3 weeks. Instead, he asked softly, You're really okay with this? I'm okay not being compared. That was the last thing I said before closing the door. And for the first time since this started, I didn't feel intrigue. I felt final. The days after he showed up were quieter than I expected. No dramatic apology posts, no vague inspirational quotes about growth, no public spiraling, just silence, which told me he was recalibrating. About a week later, I went to a small rooftop birthday gathering for a mutual friend. I almost didn't go. Not because I was afraid of seeing Aiden, but because I didn't feel like being the center of whispered conversations. He was there, not dressed to impress this time. No calculated charm, just present. We didn't approach each other immediately, but tension in a room is like weather. You feel it shift. Halfway through the night, he walked over while I was grabbing a drink. Can we talk? He asked, voice lower than usual. We can talk here, I said. He nodded. I made a mistake, he said. That was the first direct admission I'd heard. I didn't respond. I let him fill the space. I thought if I tested the feelings, I'd be more sure about us, he continued. I didn't realize I was testing us. That was probably the most honest thing he'd said. So why involve her? I asked calmly. He looked down. Because I thought I could control it. Control. He thought he could reopen something, evaluate it neatly, close it again, and come back to me with a cleaner conscience. Life doesn't work like that. You didn't fight for me, he said after a moment. You didn't choose me, I replied. Silence. That one landed. He stepped a little closer. If I said I'm choosing you now, I cut in gently. You don't get to circle back after a comparison test. His jaw tightened. You're being stubborn. No, I'm being consistent. Marissa isn't even in the picture anymore. That's not the point, I said. You put her in the picture to begin with. He studied my face, looking for softness, for doubt, for a crack. You're really done. Yes. Not angry. Not dramatic. Just yes. He nodded slowly, like he respected it even if he didn't like it. Then he walked away. Later that night, he left early. No scene, no tears, just departure. And as I drove home, something became very clear. If he had never tried to measure us against something unfinished, we would probably still be together. But once someone treats you like an option to compare against, the dynamic changes permanently. Some lessons don't come from arguments. They come from absence. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Marissa. I didn't even know she had my number. I'm not calling to start anything, she said quickly. I just wanted to say something woman to woman. I stayed neutral. He told me you overreacted, that you punished him for wanting closure, she continued. But the truth is, he wasn't choosing either of us. He was hedging. There was that word again. He wanted to keep you secure while seeing if there was still something with me, she added. I don't want to be anyone's experiment. I don't either, I replied. There was a pause. For what it's worth, she said, you did the right thing. When we hung up, I sat there thinking about that word again. Hedging. He wasn't seeking closure. He was minimizing risk, keeping the stable option open while testing the old spark. The problem is, that only works if the stable option waits. I didn't. A few days later, a friend told me Aiden had started therapy. Apparently, he admitted he sabotages things when they get serious, that he reopens old doors to avoid committing fully to new ones. That explanation made sense. But understanding a pattern doesn't make it compatible with you. Last weekend, I went on a date. Nothing dramatic. Just dinner, easy conversation, no comparisons hanging in the air, no ex-girlfriends being name-dropped as emotional checkpoints. It felt steady. Healthy doesn't feel cinematic. It feels calm. A few months later, I ran into Aiden at a coffee shop near my office. Total accident. He looked different, quieter. We exchanged polite updates. Work, weather, mutual friends. Then he said something that wrapped the whole thing up. I thought closure meant tying up loose ends. I didn't realize I was creating new ones. I didn't interrupt. I thought if I proved I felt nothing for her, I'd feel more secure about you, he said. Instead, I proved I wasn't secure about anything. That was the most self-aware thing he'd said. That's the thing about closure, I replied calmly. It's not something you collect from someone else. It's something you decide on your own. He nodded. I never thought you'd actually go without me. There it was again. The original miscalculation. You told me you needed to make sure before committing to the trip, I said. I didn't want to be someone you committed to conditionally. He didn't argue. Marcus wasn't the issue. The Maldives wasn't the issue. Even closure wasn't the issue. The issue was this. He wanted reassurance while exploring alternatives. I didn't. We said goodbye without tension. No promises. No maybe someday. Just done. Looking back, I don't regret canceling his ticket. I don't regret going alone. I don't regret blocking him. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do in a relationship isn't argue harder. It's step aside and let someone test their theory without you. If they come back certain, maybe it works. If they come back unsure, you already have your answer. He needed closure. I needed commitment. Turns out those aren't the same thing. And once you realize that, the decision makes itself.